Hello students, myself Jinali Shah from Saraswat International Academy. In the last lecture, we have studied regarding the general introduction of the first chapter, that is the living world of unit 1. Now basically we have studied what is living world. So the term living world means all those living organisms which are found on the various habitat on the earth that constitutes the living world. Now we have studied that how can we differentiate the living objects from the non-living objects. What are those differences between the living organisms and non-living organisms? How can we say that the particular object is a living object or a non-living object? So for that I told you that there are certain characteristics which are found only in the living objects but are not found in the non-living objects. Basically those 5 characteristics which we talked about were growth, reproduction, metabolism, consciousness and ability to respond to stimuli or to the environment. In that we have already studied regarding the growth process. Now today we will be dealing with the second characteristic of the living organism, and that characteristic is the reproduction. The term itself, reproduction. Re means again, production means to produce. So what do you mean by the term reproduction? So the term reproduction indicates the production of the progeny or the new individual. What do you mean by the term reproduction? Reproduction means to produce the progeny or the new individual similar to that of the parents. What is that process called as? It is called as reproduction. Now, when we talk about the unicellular organisms, how do the unicellular organisms reproduce? So, basically, the unicellular organisms like bacteria, amoeba, normally in them the process of reproduction is nothing but it is increase in the number of the cell. So, basically, the unicellular organism by the process of cell division they increase the number of cell, and it is that increase in the number of the cell which is the process of reproduction in the unicellular organisms. So we can say that in unicellular organisms the growth and reproductions are synonyms of each other. Both growth and reproduction in the unicellular organism is the same process, because as we know what is growth? Growth is nothing but it is increase in the number of the cells, whereas reproduction in unicellular organism it also means increase in the number of the cell. So we can say that in unicellular organisms the process of growth and reproduction are same. Now, we will talk about multicellular organisms. So, what is reproduction in the multicellular organisms? When we talk about multicellular organisms, the reproduction it refers to the production of the progeny possessing the features more or less similar to that of the parents. So, what is the process of reproduction in multicellular organisms? So it is the process where there will be the production of the progeny which possess the features which are more or less similar to their parents. So what is reproduction in multicellular organisms? It is the production of the progeny from the parents which are more or less similar to the parents. So it refers to the production of progeny possessing the features more or less similar to that of the parents. Now students, one thing, reproduction is a process which is not found in any non-living objects. It means the non-living organisms, they do not reproduce. The non-living organisms, they do not reproduce. But there are also many other living organisms which are unable to reproduce, like the mules, the sterile worker bees, infertile human couples. These are some of the living organisms which cannot reproduce. So we can say that reproduction alone cannot be considered as a defining property of life. Now, before we started the different characteristics of the living organisms, I told you that those characteristics are differentiated into two categories. One of the category is the defining property of life and another is a non-defining property of life. What do you mean by the term defining property? Those properties which do not have any exceptions. What is that called as? That is called as a defining property. But students, in reproduction, I told you, see, reproduction is never found in the non-living object. But there are certain living organisms that are unable to reproduce, like mules, sterile worker bees, infertile human couples, etc. So these are the organisms which are unable to reproduce. So here is an exception, that these all organisms or these all objects being living organism, but they are unable to reproduce. Therefore, reproduction alone cannot be considered as the defining property of the life. So that was regarding the general introduction of the reproduction. So students, now we will study the types of reproduction. First of all, we have studied what is reproduction. So reproduction is the process of production of the new individual, that is called as reproduction. Now students, there are two different types of reproduction. One is the asexual reproduction and second is the sexual reproduction. The process of reproduction can be broadly divided into two types. One is the sexual reproduction and second one is the asexual reproduction. So first of all, what is asexual reproduction? So the process of reproduction where only the single parent is involved. The process of reproduction where only the single parent is involved, it is called as asexual reproduction. So basically during the asexual reproduction there is no process of fertilization, as there is involvement of only the single parents. There is no process of fertilization in the asexual reproduction. Now there are different ways through which the organisms reproduce asexually. Those different ways are by the asexual spores, by the process of budding, by the process of fragmentation and by the process of the regeneration. So first of all, by the asexual spores. So there are many algae and fungi which reproduce by the production of the asexual spores. Asexual spores are the special reproductive units which on process of germination will develop the new individual. The asexual spores, they are the special reproductive units which on germination and when they get the favorable conditions, they develop the new organisms. It mainly occurs in algae and fungi. The process of asexual reproduction through spores mainly occur in algae and fungi. The next method is budding. Now students, what is budding? Say for example, there is an organism. In that organism, some part of the body, it undergoes uncontrolled cell division and it forms a mass of a cell, or you can say it forms a group of a cell. That group of a cell is called as what? It is called as a bud. the bud later detaches from the parent body and it develops the new individual. Say for example, this is a yeast cells. Now this yeast cell, it will produce an outgrowth. Now this outgrowth is called as the bud. Now later the bud, it detaches from the parent body. This bud, it detaches from the parent body and then it begins it develops the new individual. What is that called as? It is called as the budding. So that is regarding the budding. Now the next method of the asexual reproduction is fragmentation. So where the fragmentation occurs? It occurs in some fungi, it occurs in filamentous algae, as well as it will occur in the protonema of the moss. So basically what does it mean? So fragmentation, the name itself suggests to get fragmented, to get divided. So basically what will happen, say for example, this is one of the filamentous algae. Okay, now here these are the nuclei. Now suppose if this body, it gets divided or it gets fragmented into part. Now each part will produce a new organism. Each part will develop a new algae. What is that called as? This is called as the fragmentation. And lastly, the true regeneration. So basically, what is true regeneration and where it is found? It is found in the organisms called, mainly it is found in planaria. So what is regeneration? It is similar to fragmentation only. So here the fragmented organism, it regenerates the lost part of the body and it becomes a new organism. So say for example, the body of the planaria, if it gets divided into three parts, say for example, there is a head portion, there is a neck portion and there is a trunk portion. So suppose the body gets divided into three parts, head gets separated, the neck gets separated and the trunk also gets separated. So what will happen? The head part will regenerate the neck and trunk, so it will form a new organism. The trunk part will form head and neck, and in this way another planaria is regenerated, and neck part, it will form the head portion and the trunk portion. So in this way another planaria is regenerated. So that is called as true regeneration. This is somewhat different from the general process of the regeneration. Now there is a difference between the true regeneration and regeneration. So what is regeneration? So basically it is the process where only the lost part of the body is repaired or regenerated. Here only the lost part of the body is repaired, or you can say regenerated. Say for example, the starfish. Suppose in starfish, one of its arm have been lost. So now what that starfish will do? It will develop its lost arm. Say for example, there are 5 arms in the starfish. Out of the 5 arms, say for example, this is a starfish. Now suppose this arm of the starfish, it have been lost. Say for example, this arm of of the starfish have been lost. So this is the lost arm of the starfish. Now what happens in the starfish? It will regenerate the lost arm. What it will do? It will form the lost arm. But this lost arm will not form the starfish. So that is the difference between true regeneration and regeneration. What happens in true regeneration? Each lost part, say for example, if the body is divided into 3 parts, each and every part will form a complete organism. That is true regeneration. But what is regeneration? Suppose an organism have a lost part and the organism will only develop that lost part, but that lost part do not develop the complete organism. What is that? That is the regeneration. So these are the different ways of the asexual reproduction. By asexual spores, by budding, by fragmentation, by true regeneration. Students, it is very important for you to remember these examples because they are important for your NEET examinations as well as for your school examinations. Now students, the second way of the reproduction is the sexual reproduction. So what is sexual reproduction? The process of reproduction in which the two parents of the opposite sex are involved. What is that called as? It is called as the sexual reproduction. The process of reproduction in which the two parents of the opposite sex are involved. So basically it is the process where there will be the formation of the gametes as well as the fertilization will take place. So the process in which the gametes are formed and after the formation of the gametes, the fusion of the gametes takes place. That is fertilization. So when both this process takes place and then the progeny is produced, that process of reproduction is called as sexual reproduction. This process of reproduction, it occurs in the all higher plants as well as the animals. All higher plants and animals, they will reproduce by the sexual mode of reproduction. So students, the process of reproduction is divided into two types. One is the asexual reproduction, sexual reproduction. Difference: in asexual reproduction only single parent is involved. In sexual reproduction two parents of opposite sex mainly will be involved. Here there is no fertilization. There the gametes are formed as well as the fertilization will take place. The asexual reproduction occurs by different ways in different organisms. By asexual spores in algae and fungi, by budding in yeast and hydra, by fragmentation in fungi, filamentous algae and Protonema of Mars, and finally true regeneration in planaria. Whereas sexual reproduction, the process where the gametes are formed, fertilization takes place and it mainly occurs in the higher plants and animals. Now students, the next property of the living organism is metabolism. Up till now we have studied the two properties of living organism. One is growth, the next was reproduction. Now today, now we will study regarding the next property of the living organism, that is metabolism. Now students, we know that all the living organisms, they are made up of chemicals. Now these all chemicals which make a living body, these all chemicals are constantly made within the living organism as well as they are changed to the other forms in our body. Say for example, we take in proteins, that proteins are converted into amino acid, right? Now this amino acid may also get converted into protein. So these are the various chemical, not only this but apart from this there are thousands of chemical reactions which are continuously taking place in our body, in the body of the living organisms. As living organisms are made up of chemicals, there are thousands of chemical reactions which are taking place within the living body. So, all these conversions or chemical reactions are nothing but they are the metabolic reactions. What are metabolic reactions? The conversions, that is the formation or the chemical reactions occurring within the living body. What are they called as? They are called as metabolic reactions. So basically, how can we define the term metabolism? It is the sum total of all the reactions occurring in the body. All the chemical reactions which occur within the body of the living organism, it is called as metabolism. There are thousands of metabolic reactions which occur continuously within the body of an organism. Now students, these reactions are of two types. So basically the metabolic reactions or metabolism can be divided into two types of reactions. The first reactions are the anabolic reactions and second reactions are the catabolic reactions. Anabolic reactions are all the constructive reactions or all the synthesizing activities within the body. What are they called as? They are called as anabolic reaction. So basically it is nothing but the process of synthesis of the complex substances from the simpler one. What is it called as? It is called as the anabolic reaction. So all the synthesizing reactions in our body are called as anabolic reactions. In any living organism, whatever synthesizing activities take place, they are the anabolic reactions. Say for example, one example we consider photosynthesis. Now students, what happened during the process of photosynthesis? During the photosynthesis, carbon dioxide, then there is water, this all in the presence of sunlight, they combine and what do they form? They form the glucose. So here carbon dioxide, water, they are combining and together in the presence of sunlight, they are forming one complex molecule. Say for example, the molecule formed is glucose. So here there is a formation of a compound. So all those activities where formation of certain substances take place from certain simpler substances, all those activities are called as anabolic reactions. Another examples, we know that proteins are formed from amino acids. So when many amino acids they combine and what do they form? They form a complex material which is called as protein. Such reactions are called as the anabolic reactions. Now, the second reaction is the catabolic reactions, or they are the destructive reactions, or you can say they are the degrading activities or the degrading reactions which occur in our body. So basically, what is catabolism? It is the process of breakdown of the complex substances into simpler one. Here there was in the anabolic reaction, what was the condition? There was the formation of the complex substances from the simpler ones, whereas the catabolic reactions are degrading reactions. There is destructions, there is a breakdown. So basically the catabolic reactions are those reactions where the complex substances are broken down into the simpler forms. The example here is respiration. What is respiration? It is one of the chemical reaction through which the organisms gets energy. Now how that is possible? So basically what will happen? Here the glucose, it breaks into carbon dioxide, water with the release of large amount of energy. Now see students, there are two reactions I told you. Here there was a reaction where glucose was formed from carbon dioxide and water, but here there was the breakdown of the glucose to form the carbon dioxide and water. So here in the catabolic reactions, what happens? The larger molecules, they break into the simple molecules, whereas in the anabolic reactions, many simple molecules, they join, they combine and form the larger molecules. So all the synthesizing activities are anabolic activities and all the degrading activities are the catabolic activities. So we can say that the complete metabolism is anabolism plus catabolism, that is all the synthesizing activities as well as all the degrading activities which occur within the living organisms is considered as the metabolism. Now students, metabolic activity is found in each and every organism, whether the organism is a unicellular organism or the organism is a multicellular organism. Each and every living organism will exhibit metabolism. There are no exceptions here. There is no living organism where there is no metabolic activity. Each and every living organism will undergo the metabolism. And there are no living objects where metabolism is found. Therefore, metabolic reactions are considered as the defining property of life. There are no exceptions here. See students, there were exceptions. See, reproduction was not found in the non-living objects, but there were living objects which were unable to reproduce. Therefore, reproduction alone was not considered as a defining property. But metabolic reactions will occur compulsorily in each and every living organisms. There are no living objects where there is no metabolic activity. And another thing, there are no non-living objects where metabolism occurs, and therefore the metabolism is considered as a defining property of life. Therefore we can say those objects in which metabolism is found, it will be compulsorily which type of an object? It will be a living object. Now students, the metabolic reactions which occur within the outside of those metabolic reactions which are found outside the body, or you can say they are performed in the test tube, that is in vitro, outside the body of the living organism. Those isolated metabolic reactions are neither living nor they can be considered as a living. So these reactions which are performed outside the living objects are not considered as living things, but students, they are definitely the living reactions because they are similar to those reactions which are performed in our body. So isolated reactions, metabolic reactions which occur outside the body of the living organism, say for example in the test tubes, in the laboratory, such metabolic reactions are neither living nor non-living. That is, these reactions cannot be considered as the living things, but definitely that reactions are living reactions because they are the reactions which are similar to those performed in the body of the living organisms. So that is regarding the metabolism. What is metabolism? The the sum total of all the chemical reactions which occur in the body of the living organisms, they are called as metabolism, which are of two types. The synthesizing activities occurring are anabolic reactions, and the degrading activities occurring in the body is catabolic reactions. Therefore, metabolism is the sum of the anabolic activities and the catabolic activities occurring in the living organisms. So students, up till now we have studied three characteristics of living organism. One is growth, other is reproduction, and the next one is metabolism. Out of that, growth and reproduction, they were defining properties. They were non-defining properties because they were having certain exceptions. But metabolism, which we studied, is a defining property of living organism because it was without any of the exceptions. Students, the remaining two properties, that is cellular organization and another one is consciousness, and the last one is the ability, or you can say consciousness is nothing but the ability to respond to stimuli. Both these properties, that is cellular organization and consciousness, they are considered as the defining properties because they are without any exceptions. But these two properties or characteristics of the living organism we will study in the next video. Thank you students.